Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Johnny's Garage. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how I change the timing belt and water pump on the RS Turbo engines. So this is the engine we're talking about. It's a 1.6 CVH engine. So this method will work on the Fiesta Xr2s, the Ford Orions, the Ford Escorts, all the 16 CVH, 14 CVH engines. This method will work. So the first thing you want to do is purchase yourself a timing belt and water pump kit. I recommend the Gates ones just because I've fitted them for years and never had an issue. And so let's get into it. So guys, a few tools we're going to need. We're going to need a 19mm socket, a 13mm socket, a 10mm socket, a long screwdriver, a 19mm spanner to get into the crank pulley bolt, and a spark plug socket. So I'm going to demonstrate in this video on how I do it while the engine's removed from the vehicle, but I usually do them in situ. They are really easy to do, but the only hard part about it is getting the bolt out the crank pulley, because the subframe sits round about there, but usually you can get in with a socket to get that off. So guys, let's jump straight into it. So first of all, I'm going to remove the spark plug, and then I'm going to get my long screwdriver and just ensure that the piston is at the top. So if I get my spanner now and just rotate this engine, I'll feel the socket, the screwdriver drop. So as you can see, it's dropping to the bottom, and then when it comes back up, it'll be sat at top. So we know that the cylinder one's set at top dead centre. So now I've done that, I'm going to take the 19mm and I'm going to remove the crank pulley. Now I just want to point out that I'm not actually ready to rebuild this engine yet, so I'm just going to demonstrate using the old parts just for the guide. So let's get the crank pulley off. Really easy if you've got an impact gun. So remove the bolt, and then we'll remove the pulley. Now one thing I want you to note on this pulley, if you see there I put a white paint mark on it, there's a little groove in the top. You see that? That is actually a timing mark. Right guys, so now that's removed, we're going to remove the bottom timing belt cover. Also, if you've got a top timing belt cover, there's two 10mm that go in there, just remove them and the top cover comes off. So let's remove this bottom timing belt cover. So two 10mm. And that's removed. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to remove the tensioner bolts, and this is then going to give us a slack on the belt to remove the belt. So this one is 13mm. I'm going to use the impact gun just for speed. And there you can see we've got some slack, so we can now remove this belt. And that's the old belt remove, guys. So now what we want to do is remove the bolts from the tensioner. As such. So that's the tensioner off. Now what we want to do is remove the water pump. Now there's 4 10mm, one there, one there, one there, and one there. You remove that, and then you'll end up with something like this. Behind it is a gasket, so we're going to need to clean the face of that using a scraper or flat blade so it's nice and flat. And then what we're going to do once that's done, we're going to, I always put a small smidgen of sealant on before I put the new gasket on, just so the gasket stays in place when we're refitting it. And I also put it on the outside of the gasket as well. So I put smear of gasket sealant on, fit the gasket, another smear of gasket sealant. But like I say, a very, very, very small amount, just literally scrape it on like that. So then once we've got this as gasket on, we'll put that back in place and we'll put us 410mm back in, and then we'll torque it up to specifications. So that's the water pump now sorted. So now what we're going to do is get our new timing belt, and we're going to put it on at the bottom, like so, and leave it like that. Then what we want to do, we want to get our timing belt cover, our lower timing belt cover, and we're going to refit that. That's that, we'll get us 2 10mm. And then we tighten them up to spec as well. So that's that. Just make sure that's free and not trapped behind the cover. So now that's on, guys, we then put our crank pulley back on. You can't really go wrong with this because there's a groove in it where the woodruff key goes, so it will literally slot back in like so. Put our bolt back in like so, and then we do that one back up, and that's that. So now we've got that sorted, we want to set the timing up at the bottom. So looking at the lower timing belt cover, you see where it says 0 degrees, I've put a paint mark just so we can see it clearer. So we want to line the crank pulley up with that. And this is where you've got your 19mm, so we'll rotate it as such. And there we are. So that is now lined up with the timing cover. So that's the timing set at the bottom. Now we want to go to the top. And you see that there? Where's that arrow? That is a top timing mark. And behind this pulley, there's a mark on there, which I'll set the time and I'll show you the mark. Can you see the marks there? The little dot in the block. There we have it. So that's the timing set up on the top. So the next thing we want to do, we want to get our new tensioner, and we're going to put the new tensioner on. So I want to make sure that's tight but loose enough to move. There we go. So now what we're going to do, we're going to get our belt in place. So what we're going to do is, that goes on there like that. The belt comes round like that, and then like that. So then between the gearbox, the engine mount and the tension, there's a little groove. So I usually tension it up. I usually use, when it's in the car, I usually use a pry bar, but for the demonstration I'll just use this screwdriver I've already got out. So we want to make sure we've got the correct amount of tension on this, and you can check on your old belt before you remove it. So that's the correct amount of tension. So now we're just going to nick these up on the tensioner, and that's the belt fitted. Just going to ensure that the piston's at the top again, which it is, feel that. And then what we want to do, guys, we want to rotate rotate the pulley twice to ensure the timing stays in the correct place. So let's do that now. That's once. And that's twice. And as you can see, our timing marks line up perfectly. We've got the correct amount of tension. So that's that's done. So just to recap, this method works on all CVH engines. I always recommend using a quality timing belt and water pump kit. So that's that. One other thing to note, if you're doing it in situ in the car, you need to drop the coolant first. Otherwise, when you take the water pump off, just get water all over the place. So that's that, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helps some of you out, saves you a bit of money in the process. So yeah, guys, that's that done. So I hope this video's helped some of you guys out, and I hope it saves you a few quid in the process. Remember, I am self-taught. This has come from experience working on my own cars over the years, but this method has worked pretty well for me. I can get one of these done usually in 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So yeah, like, follow and subscribe for more great tips.